Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So Krishna refuted the first argument of Arjuna, where he was concerned about his loss of enjoyment. So Krishna told him, he gave him Sankhya Yoga Gyan. Like, we are not the analytical study of matter and soul. We are not this body, we are the soul. And Krishna told about various qualities of the soul, how it cannot be cut, it cannot be killed. It is, unchangeable and eternal. And then towards the end, from verse number 27, Krishna also started giving up, no, from verse number 26, Krishna took up atheistic viewpoint also. He played the devil's advocate role, that okay, even if the soul is not spiritual and the body is simply made of chemicals, then also what's the worth of this body? Why you have to cry for this? The chemicals are just a handful of chemicals, and it's available everywhere, so no need to cry for that. And in verse number 27, again Krishna put up another argument using the law of karma, that whether you kill them or not, they are going to die anyways. So if you do not kill them, they will die in some other way. So it's better you perform your duty. You cannot prevent their death. So why you are degrading yourself for not performing your duty? Verse number 28, again Krishna used the atheistic theory that okay, if you think there's no soul, body is all in all, which is made up of chemicals, so again, no need to cry for it, because it's like, something which was unmanifest, now it's manifest, and after some time it will again become unmanifest, just like a building. All the material was unmanifest, now it's standing like a building, and if you demolish it, which anyways is going to happen after some time with our material body, so it will again be unmanifest. So there is no reason for you to not perform your duty, because there is no cause for lamentation for this body. So in verse number 29, then we saw Krishna telling that subject matter of the soul is very amazing, and it's not very easy to understand. That's why it's called achintya, unconceivable. Because why it's unconceivable? Because with our material eyes we cannot see it. It's spiritual, and if we can't see something, it's beyond our imagination. It's something, which is driving, moving an ant as well as an elephant, and we can only understand soul by reading about its properties, about its qualities. So it's beyond our imagination. It's achintya. So yeah, and in verse number 30th, Krishna just concluded his discussion about the soul, and Srila Prabhupada has given beautiful summarization of the whole section of the Sankhya Yoga, the knowledge of matter and soul. And by that, Krishna refuted his first argument of loss of enjoyment. Now, from verse number 31 to 38, Krishna will be talking about Karam Kand, and he will be refuting Arjuna's second argument of sinful reactions. And yeah, in verse number 33, he will also refute his third argument of incurring sin as well. So let's see how Krishna is going to do that. Verse number 31. Swadharmam api chaviksha na vikampitum arhasi dharmyadadi yudashreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Someone please read the translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Madhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please go ahead, Mataji.
Translation. Considering your specific duty as a Shatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Purport. Out of the 4 orders of social administration, the second order for the matter of good administration is called Shatriya. Shat means hurt. One who gives protection from harm is called Shatriya. Trayate, to give protection. The Kshatriyas are trained for killing in the forest. A Kshatriya would go into the forest and challenge a tiger face to face and fight with the tiger with his sword. When the tiger was killed, it would be offered the royal order for cremation. This system has been followed even up to the present day by the Kshatriya kings of Jaipur state. The Kshatriyas are specially trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor. Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the orders of sannyasa or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be diplomacy, but it is never a factor or principle. In the religious law book, it is stated, Haveshu mitho anyonyam jigham santo mat shitaha yuddhamanaha param shaktya swargam yanti aparan muktaha. Yajneshu pasavo brahman hanyate satatam dvijaha samskaraha kila mantrayascha te api swargam avapnunava. In the battlefield, a king or kshatriya, while fighting another king envious of him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death, as the Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. Therefore, killing on the battlefield on religious principles and killing animals in the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence because everyone is benefited by the religious principles involved. The animals sacrificed get a human life immediately without undergoing the gradual evolutionary process from one form to another, and the Kshatriyas killed on the battlefield also attain the heavenly planets, as do the Brahmanas who attain them by offering sacrifice. There are two kinds of Swadharma specific duties. As long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with religious principles in order to achieve liberation. When one is liberated, one's Swadharma specific duty becomes spiritual and is not in the material bodily concept. In the bodily conception of life, there are specific duties for the Brahmanas and Kshatriyas respectively, and such duties are unavoidable. Swadharma is ordained by the Lord, and this will be clarified in the 4th chapter. On the bodily plane, Swadharma is called Varnasrama Dharma, or man's stepping stone for spiritual understanding. Human civilization begins from the stage of Varnasrama Dharma, or specific duties in terms of the specific modes of nature of the body obtained. Discharging one specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So here, as I told, Krishna is starting with Karam Kanda section. He is going to tell us about the duties. If you do good, you get good. If you do bad, you get bad. So in the first paragraph of the purport, we see how Prabhupada is explaining the meaning of Shatriya. So Krishna has started telling him about the specific duty as a Shatriya. Arjuna wants to give up everything and go for, sannyas order in forest, but Krishna is reminding him that he's a Kshatriya and there are some duties for a Kshatriya. So he should not hesitate and he should just follow his duty. So Prabhupada starts by explaining the meaning of Kshatriya. Shat means hurt and Traite means to give protection. So Kshatriya is meant to give protection from hurt to his dependents, to the citizens of his kingdom. And for that purpose, they are allowed to do hunting also. They are so that they can become brave. They have the courage to face a tiger and they can face the enemy as well. They should not be coward. So that should be the nature of Kshatriya, and that is a special permission for them. And in the second paragraph, then Prabhupada also tells about animal sacrifice, like how it is allowed for a Kshatriya to fight envious kings, his enemy kings. Similarly, a Brahmana also is allowed to sacrifice animals. Why? Just how a Kshatriya, he can attain heavenly planet by doing his duty, fighting on the battlefield. The Brahmanas performing of animal sacrifice, that helps the animal as well. I think someone is unmute. Subramanya Mataji, can you mute yourself?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Okay, so how a Brahmana sacrificing the animals, that benefits the animal. It's done by proper chanting of the mantras, and that animal can immediately get the human form of body. So by performing the sacrifice, Brahmana is helping the people. He's most likely praying for everybody's welfare, as well as the animal which is being sacrificed in the fire. And then in the third paragraph, Prabhupada starts explaining about the duty. Krishna has started that this is your specific duty. Now, what is duty? We all need to understand that there are two kinds of specific duties, swadharma. There are two types of swadharmas. Okay, so the first swadharma is prescribed duties. Swadharma is like specific duty, that is prescribed duties, which is prescribed by the scriptures, and scriptures are made by the Lord. So these swadharmas, these specific duties are prescribed by the Lord himself, and if we carry them out, Lord is pleased. Now the two types of swadharmas are conditional duties and constitutional duties. Now what are conditional duties? Conditional duties are according to the Varnasrama, which, like, we have 4 varnas and 4 ashramas. They are based upon the influence of the 3 gunas on a living entity. What type of nature we have acquired, what type of activity we are carrying out, and then of course the 4 ashramas, um, uh, like a brahmachari, grasta, vanprastha, and all that, which ashram we are. So there are duties based upon all that. And the second one is constitutional duty. Constitutional duties are based upon spiritual concept of life. We all are eternal souls, part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. So we have some duty towards our Supreme Father. This is our duty towards the Supreme Lord. So this is constitutional duty, our Sanatan Dharma. And here now Krishna is reminding him of his conditional duty, that you are born in Shatriya Varna. You have got that nature. You are a Shatriya, and it's your duty to fight. Okay. So moving on to verse number 32. Yadrachaya chopapanam swargadwaram apavaratam sukhinah Shatriya partha labhante yudham idarsham. Subramanya Mataji, you had raised your hand. You can please read.
Yes, Mataji. Shall I read? Yadruchaya chopapannam swargadvaram apavritam sukhinah Shatriya partha labhante yuddhami drisham. The Kshatriyas purport. Translation. O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Purport. As supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna, who said, I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause perpetual habitation in hell. Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Parashara Smriti, or religious codes made by Parashara, the great sage and father of Vyasadeva, it is stated, Kshatriyo hi praja rakshan shastra panihi pradamdayan nirjitya para sainyadi shitim dharmena palayat. The Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus, with religious principles, he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. And if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to the heavenly planets, whose doors were wide open to him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So again here Prabhupada is in the purport, he's specifying upon the duty of the Kshatriya, because Krishna is telling him that this is a good opportunity you have got. Yad Shreya, an opportunity on its own has come to you for fighting. And that's a wonderful opportunity for a Kshatriya. And in the first paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada is telling that how this attitude of Arjuna of not fighting, it was due to ignorance only. He was placing his compassion for the bodies. So it's not appropriate for a Kshatriya to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. So again, Prabhupada is stressing upon the duties of a Kshatriya, that it is his duty. And if he gets back from his duty, he wants to become non-violent, that's not acceptable. That is only due to ignorance. All the citizens are dependent upon him, and he can adopt violence to protect the law, to protect order, to protect the citizens of his kingdom. Okay, so it's just like a sportsman who gets to play. Whenever he gets an opportunity to play, to show his talent, he's so excited. So Arjuna should be excited. He should be happy that an opportunity which is appropriate for him. He was a great warrior, and he has got an opportunity to show off that valor, that power. So he should be happy about that. He should not get back. And in the last paragraph, again, Prabhupada has clearly told that in both the cases, it is win-win situation for him. No, what is it? If he would win, if he is able to conquer the enemies, he would enjoy the kingdom. And if he dies in the battle, then he would be elevated to the heavenly planets. So if one wins, well and good. Even if he dies, he achieves the heavenly planets. So there is no loss for Arjuna at all. So here Krishna is refuting the second argument, that is loss of enjoyment, which was given by Arjuna, that you will not lose anything. It's win-win situation for you. Okay, verse 9. अथ चेतत्वम् इमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि तथा स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापम् अवाप्स्यसि. Somebody please read the translation. Purport. Barnali Mataji, did you read already?
No, Mataji. Should I read? There was okay. I'm reading. I'm reading. Translation. Translations. If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. But Arjuna was a famous fighter, and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjuna pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called for Pasupati Astra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapons by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adoptive father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect the specific duty of a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name, and thus prepare his royal road to hell. Prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell by not fighting and by withdrawing from the battle. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so
Thanks.
much. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that if you don't perform your duty, two things will happen. What is that? First one is that you will incur sins. You will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties. And second thing is you will lose your hitva, your kirtim will be lost, hitva. Papam avapshyasi, and you will also gain papam, sinful reactions. So these two things will happen. So that's what I told earlier. So here Krishna is also refuting the third reason of Arjuna for not fighting. What was that? That he will incur sinful reactions if he kills so many people on the battlefield. But Krishna is presenting it from the other angle, that it's your duty as a Kshatriya to fight against your inimical kings, the enemies who are not good to rule over the people of your kingdom. And if you don't carry out that duty, you will incur sins. Arjuna was saying, if I fight and kill them, I will incur sins. But Krishna is telling, if you give up, if you withdraw, you don't fight, you don't do your duty, then you will incur sins. Okay. So by not performing your duty, you will incur sinful reactions. And Arjuna, Prabhupada is telling in the purport, he was a great warrior. He had great reputation. He had defeated even Shiva. He had special weapon gifted to him by Shiva, Pashupat Astra. Dronacharya, his guru, also had given him special blessings and weapons. His adoptive father Indra had also blessed him in several ways. So he was a great warrior. He had so many blessings, and now is the time to use all that. And if he doesn't do it, it's not going to be good for him. It's like preparing the royal road to hell. He will lose his name, fame, and everything. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, is kind of putting Arjuna in dilemma now. This way or that way, you must fight. If you think that you are not in bodily concept of life, then it's my order. You must fight. I mean, it's your duty. Specific duty which is told to you, conditional duty, your conditional duty. You're a Kshatriya, so you have to fight. Verse number 34. अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययम् संभावितस्य च कीर्तिर्मरणाद अतिरिच्यते. Who want to read next?
Mataji, let me read only.
Okay, Mataji. Oh.
Translation: people will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Purport: both as a friend and philosopher to Arjuna, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjuna's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you have the battlefield before the battle, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people will call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better die than die in the battle. Better to die in the battle. But that will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjuna to die in the battle and not withdraw. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. So again, Krishna is further stressing upon the infamy he will incur if he doesn't fight. So he says that you will get a infamy, which is worse than death for a respectable person like you. So this is kind of final judgment of the Lord, that Arjuna, it's good to go for it. Even if you die in the battlefield, no problem. But you should not withdraw. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than everything. And you think that you are being compassionate, and that's why you're fleeing from the battlefield. But people will not understand like that. They will call you coward. Okay. Again, verse number 35. भयादरणाद उप्रतं ममि मंश्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यशसि लाघवम्. Vijayalakshmi Mataji, you want to read again?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Purport. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjuna. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you have left the battlefield out of compassion for your brothers and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So again, the same thing I already mentioned it, that people will not consider it to be your great heart, your compassion and all. Rather, they will call you coward. So people will believe that you've left the battlefield out of fear only, and they will consider you insignificant. Bhayadaranaad upratam. The very first words Krishna is saying. Out of fear, Ranad is battlefield. Upratam, you have seized, you have ran away. People will know you for that. And you are such a great warrior. You have good name and fame among all the great journals, but you will be considered insignificant. So your high estimation of your personality will go to hell. The very last line of the purport Prabhupada is putting as your high estimation of your personality will go to hell. So it's a great risk for Shatriya. Okay, verse number 36. अवाच्यवादंश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहित निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. Subramanya Mataji, you want to read? Dechu Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Subramanya Mataji, you can read this time.
Yes, Mataji. Translation. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Purport. Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled for plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statements against Arjuna's so-called compassion. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So again, same thing, Krishna is stressing again and again that it will be very painful for him if he gives up the fighting. People will criticize him and he won't be able to tolerate that. He's a soft-hearted person. So Krishna is making sure that Arjuna doesn't forget his duty and he doesn't give up fighting. Now verse number 30. Fighting. Hato va prapshyasi swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad utishta kaunteya yudhya krata nishchaya. Dechu Mataji, you want to read?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Purport. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight. For even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so this is just conclusion as I told you because it's Karam Kanda section. Now, what is Karam Kanda? We have completed this section. What did we understand from it? Karam Kanda means that one is always thinking of profit and loss. What will I gain by performing this duty? What will I lose by doing that duty? So if I perform this, I will, if I perform some pious activities, punya, I will gain. If I do some papa, I will lose and I will suffer. So that is the mentality or that's what goes behind Karam Kanda. The people who perform all those activities, that's what they keep thinking. So Arjuna was also thinking about his gain and loss. That I will lose my relatives, I will lose my family and friends, and I will lose the enjoyment. What will I gain out of it? So he was thinking like that. So Krishna also now answered in this section in the same terms. And in this verse number 37, he's telling him that there is no loss for you. Both ways you are going to gain only. Okay, so this is Karam Kanda section. So Krishna has answered him in the same terms, loss and gain. Now verse number 38, that is considered by some acharyas, is considered in this section only, and by other set of acharyas is considered in the next section, that is Buddhi Yoga or Karam Yoga. So it's basically, Krishna here is switching to the next section. So it's a connection between Karam Kanda and Karam Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. Verse number 38. Sukha dukhe samakritva labha labhau jaya jayu tato yudhaya yujasva nevam papam avapshasi. Dechumata, you want to read again? That was really a short purport. You can
Yes.
read again. Yeah.
Yes. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Purport. Lord Krishna now directly says that Arjuna should fight for the sake of fighting because he desires the battle. There is no consideration of happiness or distress, profit or gain, victory or defeat in the activities of Krishna consciousness. That everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna is transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction to material activities. He who acts for his own sense gratification, either in goodness or in passion, is subject to the reaction, good or bad. But he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged, nor is he a debtor to anyone, as one is in the ordinary course of activities. It is Devasi Bhupata Namritam Pitranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Rikarajan Sarvatmaha Ya Saranayam Gato Mukundam Parihitre Kartam. Anyone who has completely surrendered onto Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all the other duties, is no longer a debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, not the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, no kinsmen, no humanity, nor forefathers. That is the indirect hint given by Krishna to Arjuna in this verse, and the matter will be more clearly explained in the following verses. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So, as I said, this is a switching from Karam Kanda to Karam Yoga. And now, from now on, Krishna will, like we saw in verse number 33, also Krishna refuted the sinful reaction argument. And in this section particularly, Krishna will be refuting the same argument, the third argument of sinful reactions. So now, so far, Krishna was speaking about victory and defeat, gain and loss and all. But now he's totally changing. He has totally changed his gears. And he's saying that you fight because I am telling you to fight. Don't consider happiness, distress, gain, loss, anything, nothing. You should fight. And by doing so, you shall never incur sin. So again, the sinful reaction argument is being covered up. So just fight as a matter of your duty. You will not incur any sinful reaction. So in the purport, Prabhupada has explained very nicely how when we do everything for Krishna, we are not subjected to any reaction. And on the other side, if we do things for our own sense gratification, whether it is in goodness or it's in passion or ignorance, it is going to get us reaction. It's going to get us good reaction or bad reaction, but reactions will always be there. But if we completely surrender to Mukunda, then everything is taken care by him. We are not obliged to anybody. We are not a debtor to anyone. Our account, it gets cleared. Nothing good, nothing bad, whatever Krishna decides, and of course his decision, his plan will be the best, and we are free from any reaction. So this is what Krishna is now taking him to, that he is kind of raising Arjuna's consciousness now from Karam Kanda, that was just loss and gain, to Karam Yoga. And we in the lecture I heard, we have example of Shukracharya. In Karam Kanda Brahmanas also, there are some types. And Shukracharya, he's an example of Karam Kanda Brahmana. Some Brahmanas, they do things for their own benefit. They are Karam Kanda Brahmanas. So Shukracharya was one of them. Why? Because he was concerned that if Vaman Dev takes everything away from Bali Maharaj, then what will happen to me? So these type of Brahmanas are Karam Kanda Brahmanas. They are always thinking of themselves, gain and loss. They are called Samarth Brahmana. And now devotees, or as you people may answer others questions also, somebody may argue that, okay, if we are not supposed to do this Karam Kanda, then why this section is given in the Vedas? This Karam Kanda section is given in the Vedas as it is meant for sense gratification. So what's the need of all this? So the reason is because everyone is not on the same platform. And initially, everybody, most of the people, they are on the bodily platform, and they can't give up everything so easily and come to bhakti level so fast, instantly. So if they perform Karam Kanda, they worship demigods, then they gradually elevate themselves. They gradually elevate themselves. Why? Because even if they worship demigods, they consider some superior power, that there is some superior power upon whom we are dependent. We are not all in all. We are not all powerful and all controllers and everything. We have to depend upon somebody. So they start elevating themselves, looking up to some higher authority. And it's like, why is it put in this Vedas section? As we talked about it, for gradual elevation. And another example to explain this is given that how a mother gives some bitter medicine to a child, and the child is not willing to take that bitter medicine. So, we can say that Bhakti Yoga, maybe instantly it's like a bitter medicine to people. It's like poison in the beginning, but of course nectar at the end. So it's like a bitter medicine, and people are not ready to take it that easily. They're hesitant. So what does a mother do? She would mix it with something sweet, right? So that's how this Karam Kanda section, it's like a medicine only, wrapped up in some sugar candy. That if you do this, you can enjoy in this way. You can go to heavens. Why go for this pity sense gratification on this planet? If you give rupees 100 according to the scriptures as per the Karam Kanda rituals, then you will get 1,000 rupees in return. If you do this activity, you can go to higher planets and have even better sense gratification. But at the same time, what we have seen, there is a medicine in the center of that candy. In the Karam Kanda pujas, in the performances, there is a medicine given. Now, what is that medicine? We understand that this Karam Kanda activities, they help in three ways. They help to elevate a person in three ways. The first way is that person is he's spending something upon that ritual. He's making some expenditure. He has to buy the ingredients for that performance. He has to get the brahmanas. He has to give them dakshina. He has to spend upon prashadam. So he has to sacrifice his hard-earned money. So sacrificing something that which he had earned by so much of sweat, that leads to purification of his heart. Okay, so that way he's gradually elevating. So first thing is that sacrificing whatever he has, basically expenditure we talked about, so that leads to purification of his heart. So medicine works in that way. Second way how medicine works is, because these Karam Kanda activities, they are prescribed in the Vedas. So doing these activities means following the Vedic authorities. They are not doing, of course, the Karam Kandis, they are better than just the karmis or people who do satisfy their senses whimsically. We will do whatever we want to do without following any authority. So it's better to become Karam Kandi if we can't come directly to the highest level. So because they are following the Vedic authority, they get purified. So this is the second way the medicine works. The third way is now, which is the most important one, is chanting of the names of Lord Vishnu in any Vedic sacrifice. That's the real medicine, and that purifies the performer. Yeah, performer might be the Brahmana, but the people who have organized the puja, he is also called a performer. So it purifies him. And the Brahmanas, as we discussed how there are Brahmana Karam Kandi Brahmanas, they are concerned about loss and gain and all that. But Brahmanas who perform these pujas, they are supposed to give some knowledge to the participants about the temporary nature of the material world also. So when these people, they again and again get these things done, the Karam Kandi ritualistic activities they perform, they understand that what's the use of these temporary benefits? Oh, this is the nature of this material world. Everything is temporary. So then why do we have to just go for temporary things? So they start aiming for liberation. That is getting out of the material world, getting out of the temporary thing and entering something permanent. So they rise from Karam Kanda to Karam Yoga then. Okay, because this verse is a link between Karam Kanda and Karam Yoga. That's why we are trying to cover up both these things now. So now Karam Kanda to Karam Yoga. Now, what is the difference between the two? So you all might be aware now, you all are very sincere devotees reading Prabhupada's books. So yoga means connection with the Supreme. So, and any form of yoga, it can be in any form. Yoga means just connection. So if we are connecting to the Supreme in any way, that means a person is aiming for liberation, is advancing towards liberation. I hope I am clear. So let me again tell you the difference between Karam Yoga and Karam Kanda now. Now, definition of Karam Yoga. If somebody asks you, what is Karam Yoga? That a person is attached to the work, but he is detached from the fruits. Okay, person is attached to the work, but he is detached from the fruits. And in Karam Kanda, what is the case? Person is attached to the work as well as to the fruits. He will do the work, whatever is prescribed according to the Vedas. He will do it as per the authority, but he wants the result all for himself. That is Karam Kanda. And in Karam Yoga, person is attached to the work, but he is detached from the fruits. He offers the fruit to the Lord. So detachment is there now. And this detachment, it can be partial or it can be complete. So based upon that, we have two types of, Karam Yoga, Sakam Karam Yoga and Nishkam Karam Yoga. In Sakam Karam Yoga, the person is not fully detached. He wants little bit benefit. He will donate a part of whatever he has got for the pleasure of the Lord, and rest he will keep for himself. But Nishkam Karam Yoga is fully detached. He's ready to give up everything he has done. And then, as we are moving on to the next section, as I said, Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga, it at places in Bhagavad Gita, as we move on, it means Bhakti Yoga also. So just to, as we are covering up this topic, I will tell you about that also. So Karam Kanda, now, Karam Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Now, what is the difference between Karam Yoga and Bhakti Yoga? In contrast to the Karam Yoga, in Bhakti Yoga, what happens? The person is not even attached to the work. He does not want to perform an activity because he is willing to do that. He will perform what will please the Lord, what Lord wants him to do. And of course, the result is always for Krishna. Okay. So first case, both work and result for me. Second case, okay, work I will do, but result also for me. Work I will do according to the authority, Karam Kanda, but result I will keep. I mean, that was Karam Kanda, and then it was Karam Yoga. Okay, result I will do, but I will offer the result to the Lord, and result also I will see, partial or complete. That is Karam Yoga. But Buddhi Yoga, work also according to the Lord, and result also for the Lord. I hope that's clear to everybody. Any questions so far? We are moving on to the next section. So if you have any questions so far, we can take up that, then we'll move on. Okay, so it seems everybody is good. Yeah. So if you want, further understanding of Sakam, Nishkam, I can give you one example, like how, how I heard it in a class, that how a tailor, there is a person who is a tailor and he is devotee to Lord Krishna, and he is stitching some bags. So he comes to the temple and he tells the Prabhuji there, the temple president, that I want to gift bags to, or I want to give bags to all the devotees here, all the brahmacharis here who are engaged in book distribution seva, so that they can carry the books on a discounted rate. On a discounted rate. So which type of yoga is he doing? Anybody? Which type of Karam Yoga is it?
Niskam Karam Yoga.
No, it's Sakam Karam Yoga. Sakam Karam Yoga, because he wants some benefit for himself. He wants to connect to Lord Krishna. He wants to serve the devotees, but not totally detached from the result, from the benefit. He's ready to give up the discount. And if we ask him that, Prabhuji, we don't want the bags, we already have the bags. If you could, stitch some hats for the devotees, they have to go out in sun. He will say, no, that I can't do. So he's attached to his work. In Bhakti Yoga, what is it? He's not even attached to the work. Okay, Prabhuji, hats you want, I will do that on. So that will be Bhakti Yoga. But here he's attached to the work. He wants to stitch only bags and he wants to give on a discounted price. Then it is Sakam Yoga. And if he wants to give the bags free of cost, I want to distribute bags to everybody, then which yoga will it be?
That is Niskam Karam Yoga. Na?
Nishkam Karam Yoga. Yeah, right. Then he's not attached to the result at all. But till now, he's attached to the work. And in Bhakti Yoga, no attachment to the work. So I hope that has further clarified it. Now we move on to the next section, verse number 39 to 53. Krishna is talking about Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga, and he will again, defeating the sinful reaction argument. Verse number 39. Eshate abhihita sankhye buddhi yoge to imam shranu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Who wants to read next?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
Translation. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works, purport. According to the Nirukti or the Vedic dictionary, Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to that philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. And yoga involves controlling the senses. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering his cousins and brothers, the sons of Dhritarashtra. In both ways, the basic principles were for sense gratification. Happiness derived from conquering them and happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification, even at the sacrifice of wisdom and duty. Krishna therefore wanted to explain to Arjuna that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They were individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, and they will continue to remain individuals in the future, because all of us are individual souls eternally. We simply change our bodily dress in different manners, but actually we keep our individuality even after liberation from the bondage of material dress. An analytical study of the soul and the body has been very graphically explained by Lord Krishna, and this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angles of vision has been described here as Sankhya in terms of the Nirukti dictionary. This Sankhya has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheist Kapila. Long before the impostor Kapila's Sankhya, the Sankhya philosophy was expounded in the Srimad Bhagavatam by the true Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Lord Krishna, who explained it to his mother, Devahuti. It is clearly explained by him that the Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and that he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gītā. The description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. All these individuals are working in the material world for sense gratification, and under the spell of material energy, they are thinking of being enjoyers. This mentality is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion, and it is only after many, many births of such sense gratificatory activities that the great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, thereby fulfilling the search after the ultimate truth. Mataji, can you just scroll it down? Arjuna has already accepted Krishna as a spiritual master by surrendering himself unto him. Sishyaste ham sahadimam tvam prapanam. Consequently, Krishna will now tell him about the working process in Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga, or in other words, the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. This Buddhi Yoga is clearly explained in chapter 10, verse 10 as being direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart. But such communion does not take place without devotional service. One who is therefore situated in devotional or transcendental loving service to the Lord, or in other words, in Krishna consciousness, attains to this stage of Buddhi Yoga by the special grace of the Lord. The Lord says, therefore, that only to those who are always engaged in devotional service out of transcendental love does he award the pure knowledge of devotion in love. In that way, the devotee can reach him easily in the ever blissful kingdom of God. Thus, the Buddhi Yoga mentioned in this verse is the devotional service of the Lord, and the word Sankhya mentioned herein has nothing to do with the nothing to do with the atheistic Sankhya Yoga enunciated by the impostor Kapila. One should not therefore misunderstand that the Sankhya Yoga mentioned herein has any connection with the atheistic Sankhya, nor did that philosophy have any influence during that time. Nor would Lord Krishna care to mention such godless philosophical speculations. Real Sankhya philosophy is described by the Lord Kapila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but ever that Sankhya has nothing to do with the current topics. Here, Sankhya means analytical description of the body and the soul. Lord Krishna made an analytical description of the soul just to bring Arjuna to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, Lord Krishna's Sankhya and Lord Kapila's Sankhya, as described in the Bhagavatam, are one and the same. They are all Bhakti Yoga. Lord Krishna said, therefore, that only the less intelligent class of men make a distinction between Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. Sankhya Yoga pratak bhalaha pravadanti na panditaha. Of course, atheistic Sankhya Yoga has nothing to do with Bhakti Yoga, yet the unintelligent claim that the atheistic Sankhya Yoga is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself, without his making extraneous endeavors to acquire knowledge. There is much difference between work in Krishna consciousness and work for fruitive results, especially in the matter of sense gratification. For achieving results in terms of family or material happiness, Buddhi Yoga is therefore the transcendental quality of the work that we perform. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So it's a pretty long purport, and Prabhupada is describing about the Sankhya philosophy also in detail in beginning of this in beginning of the purport. So what is Sankhya? Sankhya means that which describes things in detail, and Sankhya refers to the philosophy which describes the real nature of the soul. So that's how we covered up the first section of chapter 2, where Krishna defeated the compassion argument by Sankhya philosophy, or Gyan Yoga we also called. Sankhya, analytical study of matter and soul, or Gyan, the knowledge of matter and soul. Krishna gave and he refuted the first argument. And Prabhupada is also trying to explain to us that the Sankhya here, it has nothing to do with the Sankhya philosophy of the atheistic Kapila. Atheistic Kapila, he describes Sankhya which is atheistic. But theistic Sankhya is given to us by Lord Kapila, son of Devahuti. he gave theistic Sankhya to his mother Devhuti only. So there are two types of Sankhya. So we should understand that a theistic and theistic. Theistic one is given by Lord Kapila. And in the next paragraph, then Prabhupada talks about Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga, it has two meanings. You know, we have to see in which context it is used. Buddhi Yoga means Karam Yoga, Nishkam Karam Yoga. Okay, just what we talked about, or it also means Bhakti Yoga. So that's why we talked about all these things so that you are not confused. Buddhi Yoga, it has got two meanings: Nishkam Karam Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Hmm? So here Prabhupada is telling that this Tisham Satata Yukta Nam in chapter 10, verse 10, Krishna has used Buddhi Yoga. So where Krishna tells that Tisham Satata Yukta Nam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Upayanti Te. So that is in the Bhakti section of Bhagavad Gita. So there Buddhi Yoga clearly means Bhakti Yoga. And in the initial chapters, like now here in second chapter or third chapter, this term means Nishkam Karma Yoga. Okay, so we have to see where it means what, but of course, definitely it means Bhakti Yoga or Nishkam Karma Yoga. Either we are not attached to the work also, or we are attached to the work, but of course, all the result is for Lord in both the cases. So if we do that, in the last paragraph, again, Prabhupada is telling that one should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in the full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. That I am doing it for my Lord. I have to give my best because I have to offer the fruit to the Lord. So one who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga and finds himself always in transcendental bliss. So that's the formula how we can be happy. Whatever we are doing it for the Lord. Some activities, yeah, which we are doing out of our, as we discussed, constitutional duty, conditional duty, that's a swadharma, so we are carrying it out, but we are doing it for Lord's pleasure. Or some activities we are doing it definitely whatever Krishna wants us to do, whatever order instruction we are getting from our superiors. So whatever type of engagement we are having, if we are doing it for Krishna's pleasure, we can be happy. By such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord, and thus his liberation is complete in itself. So if we are able to satisfy the Lord, then definitely we will get his grace and our liberation is complete, which is, we will talk about all that in Bhakti Yoga. Liberation is not just our motive. Okay, so that's how Krishna has started now the Buddhi Yoga chapter after describing the Sankhya Yoga and the Karam Kanda section to Krishna. Now in the next two verses rather, 40 and 41, Krishna will be talking about characteristics of Bhakti Yoga. Characteristics of Bhakti Yoga. What is it? So it's already 8:03. I think we should do it next time. I don't want to be, yeah, we should talk about it nicely. Any questions from today's section or anything you want to share from your side? Any reflection, any comment? We can maybe take up that and we will start from verse number 40 in the next class.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I have a doubt Mataji, like between Sakama Karma Yoga and Nishkama Karma, I'm little confused. Sakama Karma Yoga, where the person is attached to the work and part of the result. Partially is attached to the result as well. Whereas in Nishkama Karma Yoga is not attached to both the work as well as result, right Mataji?
Nishkam, no, Mataji. In both in Karam Yoga, they are both, they are the two sections of Karam Yoga only. Sakam Karam Yoga or Nishkam Karam Yoga. So yoga means connection. That person is doing his karma, but he's establishing connection with the Supreme. And how is establishing the connection with the Supreme? By offering the result of the work, the fruit of the work he's getting. So if he's, I mean, in this part, he's still attached to the work. Work, he will do whatever he has to do, whatever he likes to do, he will do that work. But he is detached from the fruit. Now, if it is Sakam Karam Yogi, then he will be detached from a part of the fruit. A bigger chunk he may keep for himself, and a smaller part he may offer to the Lord. But nishkam, he doesn't have, kam is desire. He doesn't have any desire for the result. Nishkam, without any desire for the result, but he's doing the, he's still attached to the work. And he's offering 100% result to the Lord. That is Nishkam Karma Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga, what you said that he's not attached to the work also, then it becomes Bhakti Yoga. Not attached to work, not attached to result. That is Bhakti Yoga. Karma Yoga,
But Mata, yes,
he's
yes, Mata.
attached to the work. Yeah, Karma Yoga, he's attached to the work, whether it's
Work.
Nishkami or Sakami.
Or Sakam. But Mataji, in the purport, like it was given like Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma, you were saying, no, Mataji. So that's why I just got confused.
Yeah, Mataji, because Prabhupada has just covered up Buddhi Yoga in several senses here. As I told you, Buddhi Yoga will be used in Bhagavad Gita in several ways, Bhakti Yoga or Nishkam Karam Yoga. So Prabhupada has talked about in detail. But for your understanding as of now, here Buddhi Yoga stands for Nishkam Karam Yoga, that offer the result to me. You are a Shatriya, do your duty, but offer the result to me. There no sinful reaction for you.
Okay, but is attached to the work because Nishkama Karma, but the result completely offered to Krishna.
For the Lord. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
As we
Mata.
took the example of the tailor, he's
Yes.
attached. Yeah, he has to do his work of the stitching. So he's attached to the work. I will give you only bags. I can give you either on discounted rate or all free, but I can give you only bags. So he's attached to his work of stitching only bag. If it is Bhakti Yoga, he will not be attached to stitching only bags. He will stitch whatever the devotees want. Okay, you don't want bags, I can stitch you kurtas, I can stitch you hats, whatever you want. That will be Bhakti Yoga.
Okay, Mata. Thank you, Mata.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining and listening so attentively. See you all next Monday. And we will continue. It's an important chapter. We are going slowly, but I think it's helping everybody understand. Wherever you have any questions, you can please pause me, as I always tell you. So meet you